cancer that would put them in a flag draped coffin. I know. One of those soldiers was my son, Major Boebert.
All right, so what you saw there was a little bit of Joe Biden's State of the Union speech. Now, what you had heard is Representative Lauren Boebert heckling the president. This is no surprise. Republicans have been heckling the president during their speech all the way back to Obama when Walsh had said, you lie. But this time, this was about 13 people that were killed in Afghanistan. So now Boebert, along with Marjorie Taylor Greene, spent most of the night yelling things and making faces, because that's what adults do, right? That's what functional, normal, regular people do during a speech. And of course, look, they basically annoyed everyone there. A lot of the stuff that they said was, or at least when it comes to Marjorie Taylor Greene, nobody could tell what they were saying. For the most part, but I want to show you some pictures here that reporters had snapped during some of their outbursts. That's a good one. I love that picture. There's this one. And of course, my favorite. Yes. Great. Once again, very normal, well-adjusted adults in this room. Well, now, again, let me go into detail here about the 13 service members, because, you know what, turns out that is important, because they did die during the Afghanistan withdrawal. So, obviously, that's a monumental tragedy. However, leaving Afghanistan, number one, was Donald Trump's idea. Number two, I agree with it. I thought it was a good thing that we left what was the forever war in Afghanistan, 20 years of nonstop war and violence and people dying, American service members dying. And so, look, if we had stayed, and this kind of shows you like how you really can't win in these situations. Had Joe Biden violated Donald Trump's agreement, for one, that would have been disastrous. And of course, they would have criticized him for that. And then on top of that, more American servicemen and women would have died. And so I'm saying that that's really the problem with occupations and why we shouldn't get into bullshit wars in the first place. And so, look, there's that. Again, no-win situation here. And by the way, if you do actually have substantive criticism towards Biden for voting for the authorization of military force during the Bush administration, well, that actually is fair game. That is substantive criticism. And certainly we have criticized him on this show about that. That said, that's not what Lauren Boebert was doing. That's not what Marjorie Taylor Greene was doing. No, they were just taking cheap shots. And it sort of is pathetic. It's really indicative of what that wing of the Republican Party seems to be all about. Substantive criticism was 100% fine. I think that should be absolutely encouraged. And if you bring up a real issue here, then yes, I think that is deserving of conversation. But once again, this is criticism that was not done in good faith. It was very bad faith criticism. And so just another way, a stunt to try to get attention. That whole night, Boebert and Greene were essentially tossing out nonsense. But there was one part where they actually did sort of agree with the president, and that's when Biden had said that, oh, you know what we need to do? We need to secure the border. So Greene, during that, had yelled, build the wall. No, yes, build the wall, build the wall. Now, that's a reference to Donald Trump's failed border wall. Now, look, there's a ton of reasons why a wall doesn't work. I've explained that. For one, you can fly over it, you can tunnel under it, you can go around it. This is not 1500 BC, where a wall would generally protect you from invading armies. That does not work anymore. Okay, not only would it be incredibly ineffective, but also expensive and just very very dumb. Very dumb. There are other ways, of course, to deal with immigration. For example, we could reform our immigration system. That would be nice. And also, hey, we could do things that aren't just centered around the United States. We could actually help make the conditions in Central America not so horrible so that people, you know, wouldn't have to flee their homes. We could maybe stop overthrowing leftist leaders in South America for their natural resources. We literally did it once over bananas. We could end the drug war, which would reduce the demand for drugs and profits, and of course, reduce the profits for drug smugglers. Maybe we could, you know, try to stabilize regions in these countries, maybe with some funding, you know, to help them build up their public services, stuff like that. And maybe that's a couple of ideas. I don't know if they'll work, but at least it's better than what Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene can seem to come up with, because they have nothing. Again, if you want to tackle or stop illegal immigration, or at least most of it, well, then you got to go after the root cause. Nobody seems to understand that. Nobody seems to get it. Why is that? Well, for their part, I think it's mostly due to racism. You ask Marjorie Taylor Greene, and really, you know, the answer generally tends to be something along the lines of, and it's not so open, but it generally comes down to, why should we help dirty brown people? And that's what they do, okay? But of course, what they miss by being racist morons is that immigration actually helps the country. Immigration, good. Why? It helps economic growth. It helps opportunity. It adds rich culture to America, to the United States. And by the way, I don't just mean food, but you've got holidays, you've got celebrations, you've got ideas, arts, music, dress, styles of dress, all that stuff. Other cultures are enriching. And so, but understand that people like Boebert and Greene have small little minds, small little fearful minds. They have such little confidence in their own culture and ideals that they're afraid that other cultures will come up and subsume them. And by the way, it is quite hilarious for them to go and claim that, no, it's our culture that's superior. Really, if your culture was so superior, then why are you afraid of the so-called lesser cultures coming in and destroying yours? Weird. No, give me a break. Honestly, like, hey, hold on. Hit it, Jeb.
Give me a break.
Okay. Look, this entire thing was a sad little display from people who are so desperate for attention and have absolutely no real solutions, no policy positions at all to help the people that they claim to represent. And so, once again, their whole thing is to fall back on fear and hatred and being just generally terrible people.